Hello and welcome to the third MDA Promotions stream. This week we're joined by former BDO World number ones that have made the switch over to the dark side, the PDC, and made more money in the first year than they did in the entire run of the BDO. But there you go, that's no problem, is it? It's a joke.
You're missing a bit out. There's only three still in and one's out.
We'll get
I'm not in it now, pal.
Yes, but you did make a mark when you did do it. But listen, guys, how's lockdown treating you all? Dean, what have you been doing in lockdown? Obviously, you've had a lot of success with the remote darts league. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's been good, really. I blame Jim Williams for ringing me and because he couldn't get hold of Glen. And I think he accidentally rang me, and we were chatting away, and he just said, "Would you be interested in getting involved in this thing called Remote Darts League?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I had a good chat about it and spoke to their production team and everybody, and 5 days later we went live. So yeah, it's been quite fun, really. I've really enjoyed the challenge.
Yeah, of course, you appeared in the first one. A good start, joined with Paul Hogan. I didn't see after that. I will just say that you had a good start.
No, let's just say I appeared. That's good enough for me. No, I'll tell you what, yeah, I enjoyed it, pal. It don't matter whether you finish bottom or top in my eyes. It was a good experience to try and throw competitive darts again, yeah. But no, I'm enjoying running the second one. So good.
Yeah, good luck. And we'll be looking forward to seeing Lorraine play later. Obviously, you're going to be leaving us around 8:30. You've got your duties to do. So thanks for sparing some time. James, how's lockdown been treating you? I'll do, mate. How's lockdown been treating you? Still jumping up and down your trampoline?
Yeah, I fell that banking the other day as well. You know what I mean? After a few beers, you know what I mean? I've got a broken arm, Matt.
Have you really? Oh, don't say that. I've got a kid to pay for. I've got nappies. Okay, Stephen, how's life in St Helens? What's been cracking off?
It's all good, mate. Obviously, I'm having a bit of work doing to the house, so it's a bit hectic at the minute. But the last few months have been pretty quiet, to be honest. I've played a bit of darts on some of the tournaments online and stuff, and just kept myself to myself, really. Played a load of PlayStation and just the old boring stuff, really. Something I do. It's just nice sometimes to get away from the darts, and obviously in the worst possible circumstances that we're in at the minute. But now I can't wait to get back.
And so it's good to see you looking well, mate. You've got a nice little beard, and Liverpool look like they're going to be champions soon, so you must be very happy.
Always happy.
Mr. Durrant, obviously you wanted to do this in your kitchen so you could show everybody how nice your kitchen was, but we can't. You've got to do it in your nice living room instead. So how's lockdown been treating you? I suppose this is the largest stream you've ever seen, the best crowd and all that, is it? Or is it?
Well, funny enough, I've done a few streams and a few podcasts, but this is the first time I've been the best looking. So that's one good thing about tonight.
Can't wait for the tour to start because your eyesight's not got any better.
I'll save the eye jokes till later. No, seriously, the up and downs are an absolute nightmare. No kitchen for 10 weeks. So building work started again today. So fingers crossed we can get that sorted. But I've kept practicing. I've always done a couple of hours every day, probably all my life. So, it's just difficult times. But yeah, lots of walking. I feel okay, but ready to start now, Matt. That's for sure.
Hopefully we're back soon. So obviously I've got you all here because all of you was a world number one in the BDO over the last 10 years, and you made the jump to the PDC. You had some great success along the way. Some of you are still having great success. Obviously, we'll start with you, Dean. You came over in your first ever BDO TV event was a major event, the 2011 BDO Worlds, where you went all the way to the final.
My first TV one, Winmau one, a month.
Month previous in the Winmau, but the BDO major in the World Championships, where you made your name, beating Stephen Bunting in the semi-final, I think. Sorry, Steve. Quarters. Oh, Jan Decker in the semi, weren't it? And Martin Atkins and Robbie Green. There were your four before you got beat Martin Adams. So you got to the final. The year after, losing to Alan Norris. Then you made the decision to join the PDC. So, I mean, what was the main reason for the jump back in 2012? Because obviously you'd reached the final of the Windmill and the final of the BDO. You hadn't the World. You hadn't won. You didn't win either. You losing to Scott Waits and Martin Adams, arguably two of the best BDO players ever been. So, what made you want to come over to the PDC?
Well, at the end of the day, it's like you've got to kind of make a decision for yourself, and with people who talk to you. When I was asking for advice of people I trusted, and to be honest, I thought I was ready for going over. A couple of people thought I wasn't, but I went and did it. The icing on the cake, well, I'm not going to go into detail because it'll upset a lot of people, but to be honest, the icing on the cake was at Lakeside at 2012 when you realise who your friends are, which end of the day, I'll have to admit in darts, you can't really, they're associates, aren't they? It's like, you think they're your mates and it's just, but I made the decision, I think personally the best decision I ever made.
And of course, 6 months after joining, you joined an elite club of qualifying for the match play. That epic win over Gary Anderson, being 5-0 down in the semi-final of the match play. The best, I think it's the best venue in the PDC. I've got some great memories there. That being one of them at 5-0. Obviously, I was managing you then.
Crowd.
It's the best crowd.
The best part about that, what you just said when I was 5-0 down, is I stopped on the stage and I can remember throwing 3 darts at tops and a bloke in the crowd just shouted, "See, you can hit it." And I've had 2 darts. 2 darts in 1 dart in 2 legs. But now I'll have to admit that was a fantastic day. Not just playing Gary, to get involved in that and playing them players were amazing.
Yeah, and obviously we move on. Obviously, the Grand Prix, you qualified for that in your first year, which was great. And then we came to the your first real big dent in a PDC major, which was unranked at the time, was against was at the Grand Slam at Wolverhampton, where you were in a group with Kevin Painter, James Hubbard, and Simon Whitlock. Losing to Painter, beating Hubbard, then you had to beat Whitlock to go through. And you.
Who's going to ask the question?
It was quite funny because obviously there was a result that could have put Kevin out and you both through, and obviously Kevin was just watching that game closely like this. Like if you ever say like hello to Simon, he was like that straight at you. So you go and absolutely smash Kevin Painter, Simon Whitlock 5-1, and then ends up in the semi-final against Michael Van Geuren on that Sunday. Talk us through what it's like to play. This was Michael just about starting to come to what he is now, and 10 minutes into the game, all the preparation, we were really looking forward to it. We thought, right, we could actually win a major here. 10 minutes later, you're 9-0 down. Do you want to talk about what that was like?
It was probably less than 10 minutes as well. When I'll have to admit that to go through that field and just to think, just stepping back a little bit and going to the Whitlock game, because at the end of the day, I was literally in 3rd position. And a couple of things were said what really annoyed me, which I had to come up and speak to you about. And for you to tell me to calm down when I was trying to say, hold on, well, this is wrong. And you were like, yeah, you've got a job to do. Because you won't listen, I think I got really angry. And he was lucky to get 1 because I gave him that 1. Because that game, he was crap. I was good and he was crap. And that's no offence. He thought he was funny. I buried him. Good night. End of. And it really annoys me, that game. It really does, because, to be honest, the $2,000 he lost in casino went way down on home as well, what I got told really annoyed him. But to carry on after that into a normal kind like that game, to get to semis and to be 9-0 down, I'll never forget Michael blowing me a kiss after, I think it was the 9th leg, he kicked off 180. And I backed it and I get him 180 and literally blew him a kiss back. I went, right, you're getting it. 5 legs later, I think I did I do about 5 legs on spin? 4 legs on spin?
You drew the next 16 8-all. It was just that 9-0 that you go head start that probably buggered you.
It did bugger me, yeah, because I forgot what I was actually annoyed about, and I thought, well, I've lost this, and but now he was awesome, and he is awesome. He's not the big daddy for nothing, is he? Well, but to get to semi-final, Jesus Christ, I would over the moon with that. I had some good runs in Grand Slam.
And that brings us to probably your best, what you're more well known for than anything. We're going to play the clip now. All the lads will see it. We're going to play it now, and I think everybody knows which one we're talking
Armageddon Madonna.
A leg of gods this is. Oh, 2 more on. Oh, double 12 for the 9-down finish. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Winstanley could hit nothing, it seemed. Then suddenly produces a magical leg like that.
There you go. So that was a special thing to do in the World Championship stage. Obviously, you lost the game, but what's your thoughts in a 9-dart on the biggest stage in the world?
I can remember hitting it and looking down and seeing this bald dude literally jumping about tables and everything. It looks a bit like you, Matt. But no, it's you never.
Why was Daryl Gurney playing?
Leave Darryl alone. Leave Darryl alone.
Glenn, he's going to get upset if you speak about Darryl. Glenn,
hold on a minute. Hold on. Is Glenn? Because of that remark, I'm going to play this.
Surely he's tried to hit double 18 to leave double 16. That's showboating. Who showboats when you've only won 2 ranking games all year?
And when you showboat, you get punished. Durrant hits back with a ton 80, and Finesse all of a sudden, that bizarre decision may well come back to haunt him. Double 4 though. No, it doesn't haunt him at all, because Kevin Finesse has won a 3rd ranking match of 20.
The most awkward hug since Andrew Gilding. Anyway, carry on, Dean. Go on.
You side.
poor old Gilding. What's he done?
Yeah.
Get off me! Get off me!
Is that your kitchen magazine?
Don't even go there.
I'll have to admit, I don't think when any player hits a 180, it's like, oh, I'm on 9. Every player must think it, but to actually hit it is another thing, isn't it? And I'll have to admit, I never thought for 1 minute we're going to go in. That's why my legs ran off and my head was still on hockey.
It's quite funny because my sister's first time at the darts, and she was shouting miss when Van der Voort was playing a throwing. I said, you can't do that, think it, swear under your breath, but you can't say it. And then when you hit one of the legs, she'd be up on the table. I says, look, you've got to calm down. 5 minutes later, in hit the 9 dart, I'm up on the table going like this. Like that, literally. They're going, you can't do that. But
30%.
Yeah. 15 grand then as well. It was lovely.
Yeah, I remember going. Yeah, but only thing is, I can remember going home that night, following day after that, because I was out, and then putting a picture on Twitter at home saying, come on now, leave my 9 alone. Van Gerwen, nah. He went to nearly back to Backton, didn't he? But
yeah,
fair play. Was that the one?
Nearly doubled it.
So that was your, obviously you had a 2013 where the year didn't go quite well, but you had 2 great years in the PDC, and just some of your experiences. Cause obviously we're a bit short of time with Dean, obviously because Lorraine's got to practice. So I mean, just sum up your experience with the PDC and what you think about it and the opportunities that you got to put yourself on a more of a global scale than you did in the BDO.
Right. Well, first question is, can I just see if there's a link for DRA before I answer that? No, it's something about going into PDC and thinking you're a big boy is one you've got to have the balls to back it up. I think I did all right. I enjoyed it. I think it's the best route for any darter to think they can do it. And I'll have to admit, I can remember having a conversation with Glenn about the BDO days just as I was leaving, and then I think I spoke to Glenn before he went over at PDC or Q School. It's the same thing. If you believe in your ability, you can do it. If somebody tells you can do it, go for it. You've got to believe that. The hardest thing is a dart player believing it, and PDC for me were amazing. Unfortunately, sometimes I couldn't keep my gob shut, and I don't regret it. Had some cracking arguments.
Not you, surely. You had loads of arguments with me. Speaking to you now is bringing them memories right back.
Do you know the weird thing is? The weird thing is, I'm starting to get angry and think I haven't done this to you for ages. I can't understand why I'm being red now. I'm starting to turn into Hulk. But no, no, it's PDC is the way forward if you believe that you want to be that player to go onto that stage. But best thing I ever did, 100%.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we know you've got to get off. We want to just thank you.
Can I ask a question before he goes, Matt?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Sorry, Glenn. I didn't even know we'll go in till about 8:30, but he seems he's kicking it. He's not that angry already.
I didn't want to keep you, and Lorraine's in the background practicing, telling you to piss off. So, sorry, Glenn. Go on, Glenn. Sorry. Go on.
Dean, who's the best manager, Mac Elkin or Matt Ward?
I've just seen you look at your phone, and believe it, I've got the same message as well. There's two ways I'm going to put it into this. As a manager, Mac Elkin. As a manager and friend, as a friend, Mac Elkin.
Oh dear.
No. It's all right. This is the only one, Matt, what you're not staged in.
I think this is the last show you're doing, Dean.
Me and Dean used to have a lot. Me and Dean used to have a lot of arguments. He'd ring me up, we'd meet up, we'd talk about it, and we decided, we're right, weren't we, Dean?
Like I said, there's no DRAs. No. Matt, I had quite a lot of offers. I was fortunate to have quite a lot of offers, Glenn. And I sat with Matt and we made a deal. And I'll have to admit, Matt, literally, somebody's writing. But I'll have to admit, Matt, put me on straight and narrow. Well, he put me into the game and then Matt disappeared in the game and I took over his role. Yeah. I become manager and Matt were booker.
I just took the money. Yes.
He just took the money.
But we've got a question from Adam.
Bloody hell!
Will there be a remote darts League 3?
Well, Adam, to be a really nice answer to that, you've normally sent me a message or everything on Twitter daily. I've seen pictures of you and everything, and we're hoping so. That's what I can say. Okay,
and Mac Elkin says, "Love you, Dean Winstanley." That's nice of him.
Isn't that weird, though, Matt? Max, saying it really nicely, but you said it when you got paid.
Listen, I'm not surprised.
You share a bath.
I share a bath only with Kelly. I like to share a bath with Kelly. Right, we take this opportunity to move over to Stephen Bunting now. All right, Steve, you still with us? You're not passed away?
Yeah, not nearly.
But you joined a couple of years after Dean, and you joined as BDO World Champion, which is a really prestigious thing. You were the first person that ever came over because you didn't go to Q school. You waited 10 days, and then you came over for no apparent reason.
Back door.
And you and Glenn have very similar first years, really, because you came over, you didn't have the pressure of Q school, which obviously I don't think you're saying that it was a harder Q school when Glenn did it than when you were there. I mean, it's a lot.
Course.
You got past that. You didn't have to go, and you came over. You won 2 PDC events. The first one and your second event. Day one, you lost to Van Gogh in the prelim. And the second day, you went and won. And I think you beat Gilding with a 180-161 outshot for a 6-4 win for your first one. Qualified for all the majors with a semi-final with Van Gogh in the Grand Prix. And obviously, it culminated with that You are a fantastic player, Stephen, at the World Championship. talk us about, these are not tears of sadness, the tears of joy. Talk us through the talk us through your first year, because it was the best debut year there's ever been, I think. Even Gary Anderson didn't do what you did.
Well, it was a roller coaster.
Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster, really. Obviously, moving over was a big step in itself, and it would have been nice to obviously try and defend the Lakeside, but there was no guarantees that I could do it. I'd thought about moving to the PDC for several years before that, and we had many conversations. I mean, James will back me up, and the lads. We talked about moving as a group of players. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and I was the only one who absconded, and I was made to look a bit bad. But I think it was, well, I know it was the best decision I've ever made. Obviously, going over with that amount of confidence, Glenn will be able to say the same. You go over, you feel unbeatable. I was turning up at the venues, even with Van Geren there and the best players in the world, and still feeling like I could compete and beat these players. And luckily for me, the second day I did do that. The first day I lost to Van Geren, which sort of gave me a bit of a wet fish slap round the face and sort of woke me up to what I was to expect. But yeah, the first season really was unbelievable. Obviously ending with the Barneveld game, but an epic game as well. I think Sky even show it now. It's shown on Valentine's Day around the world, me crying, and the love-hate relationship I have with Barney as well. He was a great player. He was a role model in my days at the BDO, and obviously growing up into the sport. And unfortunately now he's not around to play anymore. But
he's not dead.
No, he's not. But he did have a big impact on my career, and he was one of the players who I looked up to, as well as Phil Taylor.
Speaking of Phil Taylor there, your best win in the PDC came in the October. We're going to play the last few darts.
Biggest wins of his life. That's nerves. 13 for tops. To get the job done! And Bunting, brilliant Bunting, pulls off one of the biggest wins of his career. World.
There you go, second round against Phil Taylor. First time to beat him. Not many people actually beat Phil Taylor on TV. So obviously
you don't get much bigger than that.
The next day, I think you struggled the next day to get back up, and you went down to Terry Jenkins. You missed a lot of doubles in the Euro final. Yeah, I was that
hyped. Obviously beating the main man in Phil. I remember the game dart by dart. Obviously 10-9. I missed double 12 for a 9-darter in that game. I'm pretty sure I held throw throughout the whole game. It was all on throw, 10-9. And what an absolute brilliant game. And I always remember it wasn't the win that obviously Phil's I'm a massive fan of Phil. And it was afterwards when he said to me, you didn't jump up, you didn't jump in my face. And he sort of respected me a lot more for doing that. And obviously me and Phil are still close friends and stuff. We speak live most times. And I think, rather than someone, because obviously it was a massive thing. And inside, I was bubbling. I wanted to run around the stage. I wanted to do a Dean Winstanley and run off the side of the stage. But
he's tiring. He's tiring.
Yeah. it took me.
I couldn't find me.
But no, honestly, it was a weird situation. Did I expect to beat him before the start of the game? Probably not. But when the winning double went in, I was still really. I just shook his hand. It was just like a normal game. The emotions just got to do it inside, really. But still one of my best wins to my career to date.
Speaking of legends, and one of the reasons why you guys, three of you still in the PDC, play for big money is because 16 players decided to abscond from the BDO and form the PDC, and one of them has kindly joined us for 10 minutes. He's going to talk to you guys. He's one of the absolute legends of the sport. He was world champion in 1988.
Thank you. To become world champ, Bob wants double 16 on the wire. Yes!
Bob Anderson joins us. There's Bob Anderson from Clevedon.
Hey, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Hey.
Right,
Lovely
Robert.
stuff, guys. I got no sound here.
Can you not see
No
us, Bob?
sound.
Can you not
I
hear
got no
us?
sound. I can't hear anything.
Okay, we can hear you. Do you want to? Here's Matron.
Who was that young fella in the film there? I seem to recognise.
Can you hear us, Bob? No. Okay. This is live TV. Yeah.
This is live.
We're gonna get you back, Bob, in a minute. Don't worry. Steve, I mean, carry on talking about. Obviously, Bob there is that was looking good, and then makes a fool of me. Look. But Steve, obviously, Premier League beckoned after that, and your second year wasn't as good as your first year. I mean, talk about the difficult second year of backing it up. The expectations there, I suppose.
Yeah, obviously, when I was playing the BDO, I think I was number 1 for 2 years. You come over on the Crespo wave, you feel unbeatable. As soon as you start getting a few pins in that bubble and start losing, you obviously feel deflated. It sent me down a bit of a horrible path, to be honest, where I had to go and see a sports psychologist and sort of change the way I was thinking and stuff. It was making me feel horrible. Not just at the tournaments I was playing in, but even when I was coming home, I just felt awful. And obviously, if anyone ever felt like that again, I'd give them advice to go and see someone. Or I was going out in local dart tournaments. I was playing in local leagues, and I was struggling. And I always remember the day I rang my manager, John Archer, and I burst into tears. I said, "I need help. I need to see someone." And for probably a year and a half after that, I've really, really struggled. And it's only these last couple of years now that I've started to turn my game around. And I believe I'm playing better now than I've ever played in my career. I'm hitting 100 averages regular, even in practice. And I've started to put the hours in on the board as well at home. And it's something that I've never really done. So it's nice to obviously feel part of the clan again. And the playing in that Premier League in front of them thousands of people, that was just before obviously everything of my career sort of fell. I was in a great position. I was playing really good darts. I just changed my darts to a new goal, different grip, and I think that sort of affected me a bit. I didn't really practice with them as much as I should have, and I sort of jumped in with them. I was blinded a bit by. I got to the semi-finals, I think, of the UK Open that year with those darts.
Yeah,
so
lost 10-0 to Peter Wright. I remember
that. So that showed how good I was with them darts.
Cheers, Matt.
But
It's right. Here.
Sorry, I just said it. He just said it was right. He was feeling depressed, and I
but at that time, obviously, I lost 10-0, but I didn't play well throughout that whole tournament, and I carried on using the darts. I used them through the Premier League, and don't get me wrong, I had some 100+ averages, some really good performances, but I had some stinkers as well. And my aim when I went into that Premier League was not to get relegated. Obviously, it's always difficult and different your first time in something like that. Obviously, 10,000 people, you don't know how you react. One of the worst experiences of my career, I was in Scotland playing Peter Wright. I was in Scotland playing Peter Wright, and I think I was 5-2 up, and the crowd just totally turned against me, booing me, and I could feel the boos ripping through my chest. It was that loud, and I just totally lost it. I drew 5-all, and I come off, and I called him a plastic jock and all this, and no,
you ain't wrong.
And I'm not like that, but I was just so angry with obviously crowds. They sort of made that game a draw when I felt like I could have won it. But I think the thing that hurt me more than anything was obviously being in the Premier League, not being relegated. I was still playing some relatively good darts. I'd been in the semi-final of the UK Open, like I said. And then after that, obviously, Rod Harrington said a few things like, "Oh, you'll get a second chance in this." And then when it come out again that I wasn't selected, I was heartbroken, really. And it's something even now that I'm trying 1,000,000% as hard as I can, because I want to be back in that Premier League. I know what to expect now. I believe I've got more experience now than what I had when I was in it. And I'm probably playing better now than I've ever played, like I said before. So it'd be nice to obviously just try and keep raising up the rankings and have another crack at that, because I'd love it. And I've just played Rob Cross in it again, and I drew 6-all. So that was another nice experience as well, in front of my home crowd, 10,000 people. But the Premier League is where every dart player wants to be. Obviously, there can only be so many there, but it's a fantastic place to play darts in all them big arenas. And yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
Stephen, it's Duzzer.
I can hear you, mate.
All I wanted to say, it's interesting to say that you were going to see a sports psychologist, because people say, what's the the most story that you've ever told? And I've told it at exhibitions a million times, and it goes back to when I first saw something incredibly special when we went to Canada together. And I tell a story where I've seen, even to this day, I mean, I've heard the stories of Phil Taylor hitting 6-180s on the spin. I watched Darryl Fitton do something special. But what you did that week in practice and everything, I knew the world was your oyster from then on. And naturally brilliant. To hear that you've got to, rock bottom and having to see a sports psychologist. When I think of Stephen Bunting, I go back to Canada. I go back to that pub that we went in, where we had a game where you beat me something like 10-5, 10-6. And the only reason I got 5 and 6 is my finishes were 1-6-7, 1-6-4. So I just wanted to sort of say tonight that it's great to see you back on the open. You're still a young lad, and you can go right to the top, mate.
Thank you,
mate.
You
creeping git.
No, listen, that means a lot. And obviously, me and Glenn have known each other for a long time. We've shared rooms together when we back in the England days and stuff. And no, it is emotional. Obviously, we put our lives into this sport. I've been playing now for over 20 years, and obviously, it's given me a great life. And I hope I have another 20 years. To be honest, I've met some fantastic friends through the sport, and if I weren't playing darts, what would I be doing? I'd probably be sitting behind a desk in this heat, sweating. Yeah. This sport, I owe a lot to this sport, because it's made me who I am today. And no matter what I win in this sport, I'm still Stephen Bunting. I'm still that normal lad from Liverpool. And people who know me bump into me in the street and talk to me and stuff, and they know that. Obviously, that's why it's so nice for players. Obviously, why I was emotional with the Barneveld thing. Glenn saying the lovely words, and I love it. I absolutely love getting that bit of respect off the players as well.
I'll just say, Steve, I'm not going to kiss your ass like Glenn did, all right, but I'll have to admit, pal, from our days in BDO, you haven't changed one bit. And there's one thing, I'll have to bring Matt in for this one as well, because when you said you hit rock bottom and you went for help, Matt put me in touch with somebody, because I hit rock bottom, but I believe I hit rock bottom when I hit the 9-darter. I can beat the world. I was the best player in the world. I'd done everything now. Not everybody's hit a 9-darter, and I thought I was the best player in the world. And I have to admit, 2 or 3 months later, it kicked me in backside. I was crap, because I thought I was good. I was crap. I wasn't practicing or anything. And Matt did exactly the same. I went to see a sports psychologist kind of thing. Best thing you can ever do is talk. You get everything out. And
100%. The hard thing is, well, we don't know how long our careers are going to last. We don't know because obviously it's form as well. So it's not like we're a footballer where we've got 10 other lads on the pitch with us who can help us through it.
We're on his own.
We're on his own. Sometimes being up there on those big stages with them big lights on you, and it's you, and sometimes obviously the PDPA. Exactly, yeah. The PDPA now are helping some players with getting social abuse, and some of it is ridiculous. I mean, I've had so many messages through the days. I don't think these people realise that they're losing 25 quid, but when we lose, we're losing thousands. We could
exactly.
But what it is, they're seeing the bank that you've hi Bob, you've earned like Bob. $500,000 in rankings. they think that $500,000's in your bank. You know what I mean? And that's how their brains work. They're all
in an ideal world, it'd be nice.
Oh, yeah. It'd be nice to go and get fish and chips nights a week.
Can we all be quiet now? Can we all be quiet now? Because there's a real legend.
Bob.
Good evening, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Can you hear us, Bob?
How are you, boys?
Brilliant.
All right, Bob. Thank you.
Bob.
Bunty, you're like a long playing record.
Sorry. I was waiting for your pictures to come up, and then I could have shut up.
He's been waiting down here for the last 20 minutes.
They will never shut up.
My picture comes up, you said, that's not Bob Anderson. He's much younger than that.
You're still looking very sprightly, Bob. But, I mean, we've got Bob for a few minutes. I just want to talk about, obviously, winning the world title in 1988, Bob, the pinnacle of anybody's career. But talk us through these guys. Obviously, now these guys have got the choice to go elsewhere, and that's because of you and 15 others. Just talk about that. Obviously, briefly, it was a very long battle. But talk about changing the landscape of darts forever in the 90s and forming the WDC, now known as the PDC.
It was a pretty difficult decision to make, in that we were being threatened with extinction, should I put it that way. But all we ever wanted to achieve was to create an avenue for those players across the globe who were good enough to have a chance to earn a damn good living playing darts. And I do believe we've achieved that. So, PDC.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm very proud when I watch the PDC. I'm very proud of all you guys and the way you play and perform. You've pushed the bar up so high that I could comfortably walk underneath it. I could have done that 10 years ago when I retired, which made it a good decision. But nowadays, I think every time I watch it on TV, I get more and more proud of the small part that I played in creating the PDC. And it was just a fantastic step forward for darts. Let's face it, if we'd not done what we did, I don't think anybody would be watching darts today on television.
No,
definitely not.
Unbelievable. Obviously, you were at the first PDC World Championships, and a few years in at the Circus Tavern, somebody asked you to walk on with a horse. I mean, what was all that about? It's like...
that bloody horse gets more publicity than I do.
It's probably dead now, Bob, so don't worry about it.
If I could have shot him that night, he would have been. I'm the only cowboy in the world that doesn't like horses. That's not actually true. I love horses, but they don't like me. And mostly they do one of two things. They either rear up or they turn around and fart at me, which has happened on quite a few occasions, actually. But I remember the floor manager from Sky was a guy called Keith Judge, and he said, we're going to take you on stage with a 17-hand hunter. And I said, what are you going to do with all the crap on the stage? He said, oh, no, he's trained. I said, oh, it'd be from me. Don't worry about it. So there was a bit of a laugh before we walked up. But when I look back at it now, and I see it all too often on television, I think it only took one loony with a cigarette stub to stick it on my ass or the horse's ass, and all hell would have broken loose.
Yeah, it was a bit out there, wasn't it? I mean, looking back, you've played at the Lakeside, you've played at Ali Pali, and you played at Circus Tavern. Obviously, you played your last match against Jason Clark at the Ali Pali, which I think was the first year when John Part won. Yeah. So that was the last time we've seen him. Which is your favourite venue, Bob?
The one I won at, of course.
Yeah.
I would have to say, probably for atmosphere, would have been Circus Tavern, although I never was victorious there, apart from in the League of Legends. Basically because it was a wraparound crowd. I mean, you're not talking of the dimensions of crowd that we see today and enjoy today, but you really got the feeling that you were one step and you were sat down in somebody's lap. It was wraparound and tremendous atmosphere.
I know we've got Glenn, who was a 3-time BDO World Champion, nearly a 3-time Master like yourself. Just missed out of Adam Smith Neal. Glenn, have you got any questions that that you want to ask Bob? Because I know you're a big fan of the history of darts, and Bob's obviously somebody that you look up to. I mean, because we ain't heard much from you, which is good. But you want to speak to?
I mean, for me, in the same breath, for me, it's Phil Taylor, Bob Anderson. I genuinely love Bob Anderson. I've told him many times to his face. When he said he'd be walking under the bar right now, let me tell you, Bob Anderson in his prime would be Fosbury flopping over that bar. He's a real legend and one of the greatest ever, and it's a real privilege to know him.
Glenn, that's very, very good of you. Thank you.
Touche, we're good. Touche.
Yeah, we.
I'm still trying to work out what a Fosbury flop is.
You wait to get to my age, you'll find it's quite easy.
You're quite weird.
What have you been doing, Bob? Because obviously the lockdown in Bristol and Clevedon. Have you kept indoors for the last 3 months? Have you gone out? Because government guidelines are saying that you shouldn't really leave the house.
We're fortunate we've got a garden here, and I'm able to get out in the garden, and I've probably made more bird boxes in the last 3 months than I've ever made in my life. It's been frustrating because, you know, I'm a very keen golfer as well as the rest of it, but I haven't been able to get out on the golf course because it's been closed. It's only just reopened, but I haven't touched the club for 12 weeks, and I've had a trapped nerve in my neck, which has stopped me doing anything anyway. So, you know, maybe I was lucky from that point of view, but it's been frustrating. I mean, in the early days of the lockdown, Sally and I would sit down and work out what we were going to do during the day. Now we sit down and say what we're going to argue about today. You know, I think it's kind of the same for everybody, but we're coming out of it, and I think we'll all emerge stronger for it. I really hope so.
Another legend in the background there, Lorraine Winstanley. Hello, Lorraine.
Hello.
Watch it, Dean. The boss is behind you.
I know.
Hey.
I thought Dean was getting off half an hour ago.
Dean will never get off.
I was happy to leave, but when Bob come on, it was like, now I'm stopping a bit longer.
We've got one last question from me, Bob. Obviously, we appreciate you coming on, and want to hear from Glenn and James tonight. Patiently sitting. Somebody's just texted me and says James looks like he's just tuned in on Facebook and he's not actually taking part. He's just watching it.
I
enjoyed it. He's on Gogglebox.
Well, you was part of some of the great rivalries of darts, and what do you think to the modern day rivalries? You know, the top end, the Peter Wright, Gerwin Price, obviously Anderson, Gerwin Price, anybody Gerwin Price.
Darryl, Gerwin Price.
Darryl, Gerwin Price. I didn't want to mention his name because, you know, I always want to mention his name.
Surprised he's not put his picture up again.
Just let me get a drink. What's your opinion on the rivalries today, the modern day rivalries of darts? I mean, the guys like Price, Anderson, Wright, Van Gerwen. I mean, what's your opinion on these guys?
I don't think there's anything new in darts. You know, for Price and the rest of them. I mean, you're going to feel hyped up anyway. You should be when you're up on that stage trying to win. You're trying to forward your career. I was aggressive in the way I played my game. I wasn't necessarily aggressive to the player straight to face. Oh, you saw that, did you? Oh, yeah. I do that when I get 26s now. But back in my day, there was a fair amount of confrontation. Certainly with Eric in the early days, rest his soul. He and I were not exactly like cat and dog, but We came pretty close on one or two occasions. I didn't necessarily agree with everything he said and did. I respected him as a dart player. I had several different opinions of him as a person in the early days, but I have to say, in latter years, we both grew up, and he was my best man 15 years ago, and I miss him. But there was rivalry there. Eric and Jockey. Ooh,
Eric and Jockey.
That was fun. I remember I think it was a World Cup, and Eric had to play Jockey in the singles, and it was in Scotland. I think was it in Livingston. And as Eric walked up the steps to go on the stage, Jockey kicked him from behind, flat out, straight in the back of the calf. So, I mean, Jockey would do things like that, bless him. He's not.
Jockey.
Badly.
There's
nothing new. I mean, I think with Gerwyn Price, I think he's a fabulous star player who started his sporting career as a professional rugby player. Yeah. So he's used to having in-your-face aggression, and I think he's learning slowly to turn that aggression to the board rather than to the man, and he's becoming a better player for it. But I don't want him to lose that aggression. I think you could all keep the aggression, but channel it in the right direction. And I think it's
good to watch as well.
It is.
It's definitely good to watch.
It's box office, isn't it? Yeah. Wow.
Put bums on seats.
Say what, Dean?
It put bums on seats. That's what it does.
That's what it does.
He puts bums on seats, and he probably put a few bums
on the floor.
Well, Bob, thank you so much for joining us, and I think Dean, you on your way as well?
Yeah, I just want to say my last word, if it's possible, to Bob. It was actually the other month we played an exhibition in Skegness, and it was even nice. Like, so I've met Bob a couple of times, but actually to work with him, and I was privileged to work with Bob a few months ago in Skegness, and that just shows us, even when I were at top of my game, the boys like Bob and everybody else, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. It's just a privilege. So I'd like to thank for that.
Thank you very much, Dean.
Thanks, Bob. I've worked with a few times as well.
It's been a pleasure talking to you guys tonight.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you again, Bob.
Dean and Bob, thank you so much, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, and I hope to see you soon after lockdown.
Cheers, lads. Thank you.
All the best.
Enjoy the rest of it. Cheers, James. See you later.
Get out of there.
See you later.
There we go.
It was fun.
Right, Glenn. Right, Matt, you can put Steve back on now.
Now Dean's gone, I can get my paraphernalia out right there.
Has he really just sat there with pink boxes? Have you got pink boxes on?
Just need a drink. Okay, right. Dean, I've got Dean on the brain.
Dean.
James and Glenn, you two were very close in the BDO. You were part of the same generation. When Steve left, James, you took over his number one spot, and I think when James left, Glenn took over James's. James, actually, Glenn, because we ain't heard much from Glenn, we'll finish up with you, James. Talk us about your first year, Glenn, because it was a great year. And before you actually joined over, you told me a story about James, about being the best player I've ever seen practice. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, like I said, rather than talk about my first year at the PDC, which I will, I sort of started playing county darts. I always had a good job, and I never really expected to sort of go on the national circuit. We created this Teesside ranked event, which Stephen come down around about 2011, and he won one in Sunderland. And it was huge. We were getting over 300 people. And it was then around about 2011, 2012, I decided to go to the BDO tour. And, Stephen started dominating maybe about 2013, 14. And he was special. I always remember Stephen playing pairs with a young kid at the time called Jimi Hendrix. And I just stood back, and Stephen's lowest score was 140. And I just thought, I've got to go back and practice a lot more. And that was sort of the mantra that I always took on. I watched Barney at Bridleton, I watched Gary Anderson, and So I went home, instead of practicing 1 hour, I'd practice 2 hours, 3 hours. And then when Stephen left, it gave me the opportunity then to see if I could go and win a World Masters, something like that. And that's when I sort of first met James Wilson. Now, I can't say James without this fantastic partnership he was having with Scott Waits. They looked great friends, and they were travelling together. And I refused to go on the same board as James because it was just relentlessly 180s after 180s. And even in the PDC now, if you practice with him at a pro tour, it just buries your game. And it sort of brought back memories of watching Stephen sort of dominating everybody. He would just pretty much win 60-70% of the BDO tournaments. And James won the World Darts Trophy in Blackpool. And I genuinely thought he's going to go on and do some major things. And clearly something was on his mind when he was a big favourite to win Lakeside, because I think he bombed out in the first round to a Swede or a Finnish guy. And clearly I thought he's off to the PDC. Sajuani. So I thought he's off to the PDC because he just wasn't himself. And with them two out the way, that just gave me the opportunity then of sort of, Scott Mitchell, Martin Adams, Scott Waits were the big rivals I had. And, my domination started from 2015. And it's funny, every Lakeside win I had, one of the first people to text was Bunting, you've done what you need to do now. You've got to come over to the PDC. But I had my own agenda. I was under contract that if you won a Lakeside, the 100 grand, and I went to Q school, you've got to give the 100 grand back. So there was never really
bit like my BDO contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were then getting paid after Q school after that. So it sort of ruined that a little bit. And I genuinely thought, the BDO for life statement, I genuinely believed I was going to be a BDO player. And of all the people, Des Jacklin take over as chairman, and out the blue, it was a September 18 where he said, you're free to go to Q school. And I played Adam Smith Neil in the World Masters. Didn't want to be there. I was in the final of the second biggest tournament, and I was thinking about. I've got 10% on my phone here. I was thinking about
10% on your phone.
I was thinking about what was on my desk at work the next day, etc. So I knew then, I knew then. Won the Lakeside. I was even money favourite to win Lakeside. That type of pressure. So, the domination of the BDO finish, and then, I went to Q school somehow. I'm not even going to tell that story again, but, my first year was replicated exactly what Stephen did. I got to a final on the first weekend, won it the second weekend. Suddenly I was in all the majors, with all them victories there. And, honestly, it's something special at PDC. I don't regret never coming over, but I wish I was 30-year-old right now, because, it's just a brilliant sport, a brilliant organisation to be involved in.
Do you sort of echo some of those things I was saying before? Obviously, when you moved over as a world champion, obviously the confidence that you have at the time is obviously still inside you. So you come over and you believe that you can win everything, and obviously it's shown in your game how well you've actually took to the PDC, and how well you've actually done, and how well you continue to do.
I've always prided on myself, Stephen, of telling the truth, and it's the exact opposite to that. I came over thinking everyone was watching me. If I lose, I remember losing to Alan Tabban, day one, week one, Alan Tabban, and I could see the headlines. 3-time BDO World Champion can't beat Alan Tabban. He's. I could see all the headlines. I didn't come with full of confidence, in a sense that I thought there was that much emphasis, everyone looking at me. I was actually a little bit nervous about how I was going to perform, and I can't even begin to tell you, Stephen, how much I felt when I got to the final against Chizzy and then beat Dimmy a week later. And then suddenly I felt part of the PDC family very quickly then. And, that's my story. So slightly different to you, with not necessarily the confidence.
I did have, obviously, the similar, like what you just said there, because I had Sky Sports following me around for the whole 2 days on my first thing. And
yeah.
That was a bit strange. I did feel like everyone in the room Obviously, when I was playing the Pro Tour, there was a big crowd behind me and stuff like that, and it did make me a bit more nervous. But obviously, the confidence thing for me was brilliant, and obviously, I could thrive on that. And being in the hardest thing that I found moving from the BDO to the PDC was obviously the venues where we was playing, and it was total silence. Really, you can't even have your phone on in the room, and then from that to going to playing in front of 4,000 or 5,000 people in Blackpool, all screaming your name and jumping about on tables.
You're like the exact reverse, wasn't it?
World. It's just a different world. You're like,
I actually found
what
playing
is
in
going
the
on?
silence. I found playing in the silence great. Part of my sort of personality as well. Very serious type player. I did struggle, with the really bigger crowds. I remember got the UK Open first of all, bombing out early doors, and they're the kind of things you've got to get used to. With
Gavin Carlin.
Yeah. Once you sample a defeat like that, I felt like at that time then the eyes were off me a little bit, and Blackpool was just, I couldn't even write that story. The Grand Prix in Dublin, I didn't even feel I played well, and suddenly I'm in semi-finals. Big money, and right now I just feel like I'm just one of the PDC guys now. When I remember walking through Wigan, that I felt like everyone was looking at me. Now it's just like, I'm just like Stephen, I'm like James. It's brilliant, and
you're one of the props, same as us all.
Exactly. I would.
Do you want to
get yourself?
Glenn, do you want to go and charge your phone up, just so you get this phone charged up?
Yeah. I'm gonna
charge.
I'm gonna charge it.
I might have to see how we're doing here.
There we go. He's giving us a guided tour.
Give it a size, man. The kitchen.
This is
the back garden, but my conservatory's been built yet.
This is probably Glenn's biggest win in the PDC so far. I was going to show that.
He's tried to hit.
No, not that one.
He wants 40 points to beat Michael van Gerwen. That is the winning double.
It's quite funny because I don't play darts, but all four of us have got like that tournament was a big tournament for us four here really, and all the people I'm involved with. Stephen getting to a quarter final, Glenn getting to a semi, and James being qualified for it every single weekend by the last one. So
Jamie
that's sitting in this spot watching that check one. Yeah, that was so. I mean, Glenn, that's got to be your best.
No, devastating.
Mixed. Stephen,
Stephen's fault.
You got James like, come on, Bunting, come on. But
funny enough, people say that must be your biggest win, but surprisingly, it was beating Dal Gurney at the World Championships and the Premier League. Hello?
My God,
that was the second worst day of my life back from the match play against Rob Cross.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm there going, just like we'll get his sisters in. They'll get the first. I'll pick them up. Jack can come and watch with Carla. He's lost. What's going on here? Oh my God, what's happened in the world? But yeah. So you think that? That wasn't your biggest win, honestly. Which one was it, Glenn?
Of course, the Michael van Gerwen. The story of the Michael van Gerwen one, though, was getting the sunburn during the day. I had this thing with Dutch TV, and it was just going on and on and on, and it was boiling hot. And we were on a beach. They couldn't get the production right, and I was outside about 3 hours on the day I played him, and yeah, you can see how red I was, playing him up there. But it took a lot of the, pardon the pun, it took a lot of the heat away because I wasn't thinking of Michael all day. I was genuinely, concerned how stupid I'm going to look on TV here with this bright red beak and face, but the crowd just took to me. the crowd just took to me that week, and
yeah, too. You was glowing.
Yeah.
Well, Blackpool.
Brilliant week. Yeah, fantastic.
And obviously now you're in the Premier League, and every week I see you like an eager beaver wanting to just get straight into the tournament and getting straight into the match. And now you're top of the Premier League. I know you don't like to talk about it much.
Just honestly, once the Fallon game was over, that did not enjoy that experience at all. I enjoyed being written off against Gerwin Price. I quite enjoyed the fact that I hadn't been an underdog since James and Stephen and people like that were there in the BDO. I was always a heavy favourite. So to go into a match in the Premier League and all of a sudden I'm 3-1 in a 2-horse race, I'm thinking, everyone written me off. I remember Wayne Mardle saying, 7-1 prediction, Paul Nicholson 7-2 prediction against Price, and I wish I could feel like that every game because I just knew I was going to win that match. But brilliant, honestly, for any dart player, that's what you've got to aspire to. The Premier League is just the whole, the production, the crowds, the venues. It's very, very special. I feel very, very lucky and blessed right now.
And that brings us on to you, James. Everybody's been waiting. Quite less.
I'm good now.
yeah, James just has to go.
Good night, guys.
See you later. I mean, James, you came over in 2015. I wanted you to come over in 2014. 2 hours on the phone to head on, and you weren't having any of it. So finally, I mean, I remember when I was watching the Peter Sajwani game. I was wearing a big Swedish flag, saying, "Come on, get it on." If he gets to the semi-finals, he won't be coming over. So go on, Sajwani. And then obviously
should have had a bet on it.
DRA watching.
Yeah. So you came over 2015, and just obviously the other three guys, Dean, Stephen, and Glenn, they thrived, but you really struggled in your first year. It was a really, really bad year, and you didn't even qualify for the Worlds. It was a really hard year for you, weren't it?
Yeah, and I found it really weird. I came over and I felt good, felt great. I even knew after losing first round at Worlds down there, I didn't want to be there, and I didn't want to stay there. I mean, I had a lot of grief there when you're talking to all officials and everything. Nobody was speaking to me. I had no photographs of me, being number one. I decided I'm beating Stephen. And I went back the year after.
Why does everyone keep bringing that up about beating me?
I went there the year after, and they asked me if I was staying or if I was leaving. I said, I'll do one thing for you. If you can walk around this venue and find her a picture of me, then I'll stay. And they couldn't, so that's when I left.
And so the first year was really, I think you had one quarter final losing to Gary Anderson. It was really even halfway through your second year where one summer, June, July time, that was August, you got to two semi-finals, one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday, losing to
where's Glen?
Who did you lose to on the first? I think who did you lose to on the first semi-final? The first, was it Terry Jenkins? You lost, and then you lost to my mate Benito van der Pas in the next one. But that was your first time. You picked up two semis, and then you went nuts for about 3 months, and that got you in the Grand Prix. That got you in the World Championship, the Players Championship, the Europeans, and all of a sudden you're in the PDC and you're competing. And at the last Pro Tour, you got to a European semi-final, and then the week after you lost the final in the Pro Tour to Michael van Gerwen. And I think you went about 30 grand in about 10 events. And that's when you first started playing.
Yeah, I was doing really well, and I enjoyed it. I think I just got more used to it. But, I mean, over the last 2 years, I've had eye injury, shoulder injury, coming back now. So I'm quite happy. Throwing some really good darts, and I can't wait to get back, really.
It's nice to see, to be honest, because me and James had some brilliant rivalry in the BDO.
Oh, yeah.
So some
I'm
of
glad.
my no, but some of my greatest games and performances come against you, and even in defeat, I remember there's out of that. I didn't really do nothing wrong, but you played an absolute fantastic tournament, and I'll be the first one to say I'm made up to see that, and I class you as one of my good mates. I'm made up to see your form's coming back, and it really is nice to see, and just keep pushing up that ranking because we all know how good you are and how good you can be.
Cheers, Steve. I mean, I'll keep coming back, don't worry. You know, I'll push hard. You know, everybody knows how hard I push and try, and I'll be back. Don't you worry about
that. One of your best wins in the PDC came in the 2019 Players' Championships, and it was against Peter Wright. We've got a clip of that now.
Well, when that treble 20 went in, James Wilson must have thought it was all over. But he returns to the board on 64 for a marvellous win.
16 for double 16. Tops, though. And he's done it! He's done it, and look what it means! And James Wilson, for the first time, up on that stage in this wonderful arena here in Minehead.
That was a good night, that was.
I enjoyed that.
Good. So just a quick question on that clip. Did you actually go for another big 16?
No, I went for the 8 because every time I've lost to Peter Wright, I've always gone 16, and I've always wired double 16. And there's so many times I could have beaten Peter in the past, and I've always messed it up on double 16. I just thought, right, you go for 8. And if it goes in 16, you've got double 16. And when it went in 8, I was like, it's all over now. I knew as soon as I looked up it was going in.
It was a perfect top.
It was perfect.
That was nice sitting next to Joe Wright all the way through that match. Putting wigs on her head. Because I thought, well, it's going to be a tough game. So I sort of like went in like that, sitting down with her, thinking, oh, I'll wind her up. This will be quite funny. And then when that double went in.
I mean, it's when his point came out board.
Yeah,
his point came out board, and I just put him off, and it kept going to the board really slow, and I'm like, don't let him put you off, James. Just keep going and steady away, and you'll have him. And I did. I beat him.
We're gonna take some questions now because we've had loads of questions coming in, and this is one for Glen Durrant. Favorite moment in your PDC career, Glenn?
I would say the crowd at Blackpool. Just to hear them singing my name was. I didn't even get down the BDO. Well, there was no crowd anyway. But I think
the woman knitting was never going to sing your name.
Yeah. I think them singing my name was the best moment I've ever had in the PDC.
Stephen, what's your favourite moment?
What, in PDC?
Yeah.
I would have to say, obviously, beating Phil Taylor. Obviously, such a special moment, and to beat the man at the time, it was a massive step in my career.
And Jamie?
I think mine were the Island. I beat Whitlock and then beat Lewis, then lost to Peter Wright, which I shouldn't have done.
Yeah. That was great. So we went on that trip, didn't we? And the castle, and we're doing. That's when the James Wilson laughs at things. Come on, that's where that came from.
That was good.
We'll do more then when you get back on TV.
We'll resume.
James, I think my favourite game of all time, James and Alan Norris, 2014. That was a brilliant 1-4-3. I think you took out, and that was against Kist. But the Norris game was something special.
The Norris game was a cracker. It was a brilliant game. I mean, they were a loser in it with me, but it was a brilliant game. And I think Alan will say himself, if he'd have lost, it'd have been the same. It was just such a cracking game that, there'd have to be a loser.
I'll be honest, on that game you're just on about, I always remember, because obviously I was already through to the final, and I remember sitting there in the working men's club
Yeah.
And I was sat there with my dad and my family, and I was watching the game on the TV in the working men's club, and I always remember looking, and just every time I looked up, there was a 180. I'm like, what is going on here? I said, I'm going to play one of these tomorrow. I'm like, oh my. And I was just so panicked because of how well that it was a brilliant game to watch. And then obviously I think that's what got me so ready for the final, just watching that game.
Glenn and Stephen, do the Tesco joke from my mate Yozza, Jamie Hughes.
Fucking hell, there's been. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, there's been a fire in Tesco.
Has there?
No, Tesco.
It's gone over my head. Yeah, I know.
By
Bob
the way,
Anderson.
there are many other good supermarkets out there. Just so you know.
Yes, Aldi, Lidl, there's loads. Does Glenn remember booking Bob Anderson at his local club and doing the calling? That is from Bob himself.
Yes, I certainly do. I was running competitions 2010, 2011, as I said. I was a MC.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh.
Glenn?
He was an MC and then... he's gone. My earphone battery's going as well, Matt.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, so's mine.
That's why you need to get these wires. I think Glenn's died. R.I.P. Glen Durrant. Does that mean that Dower don't get relegated from the Premier League? Yay! Every cloud. But seriously, we do hope Glenn's okay. And he recovers from this. But he is. We'll do the final 10 minutes then if your batch is going as well, Steve. But Steve, can Stephen do the bird dance? Terrible.
But the bird is dead. The bird is dead.
Oh dear.
The bird is dead.
I've got rid of the bird now.
Glenn looks like Homer Simpson. Oh, he's gone. Glenn's gone.
Finished.
Glenn's gone. How many things?
You scared me there.
He's back. Olden days of Steve, isn't it?
He's back.
Hey!
We thought you died and Dow didn't have to get relegated. So, but shame now you're alive and well. How many things have
Glenn?
Glenn, you got to come back in. Go out and come back in. How many things has Johnny asked you to sign at one of my events?
Who's that to?
Who's that to? Glenn.
Johnny's asked you both.
He always comes up with shirts and boards and signs and shoes,
Definitely. John Chili Reyes.
Flog he gives me.
That's the one thing I like. I've got that match board that Yozzy gave me this. Have you got one like this?
Yeah.
What have you got? Yeah. Have you? Let's see yours. Stephen, it's a bit different. Hold on, yours is. We'll get yours, mate.
Runner up.
You've got runner up on yours. Oh right, this one says winner. This one says champion. There you go. But, Steve, do you remember that game?
Runner up as well.
That event.
Runner up as well.
We always talk about Blackpool being the hottest venue, and that weekend in Czech, it was just crazy. I think that it was like 35, 36 degrees outside, and the venue had no air conditioning. It was just so warm, and it was that warm. Mayor King fainted.
No,
it'll be known a while, won't it?
He had to pay around.
Mayor King fainted. That's how warm it was.
Do you remember much about it, the game? I mean, I can show you.
I've said it so many times in the last 3 days. He has been dynamite on tops. And if he hits the hole in that double top again, it'll just prove how good this guy is.
Jamie, you require 40.
This for the title then, double top. It's a huge moment. It's Hughes' moment.
Is he the most boring person to win a tournament? No. Is he the most boring person to win a tournament in the world ever?
Probably not. There's got to be someone better, worse than that.
No,
the thing about that is, it was.
Can you hear Glenn?
He's still not.
Can't hear Glenn.
Can't hear you, Glenn.
Plug your headphones in.
Plug your headphones in, Glenn.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
The worst thing about that game was the fact that it was so warm, and you could even see in that clip then I was blowing my hands trying to keep it moist and stuff. But I've never ever played in a venue that's made me feel like that. From the moment you couldn't go anywhere. I walked outside and it was 36 degrees. The sun was there was just no let up. And
was that your first?
By the end of that game, they weren't just a dart shirt and a pair of glasses.
James, you've got to a Euro final as well. You lost to Van Gogh in '86. How did you? Obviously, that was madness, wasn't it? Because you beat some great players that day: Thornton, Clayton, Sulovic. There's an actual story about that, because before you tell us, James, is like it's first to 6 all the way through, but this year they changed it to 7 in the semis. And I hadn't watched any of your games because I didn't watch the first one. I was working with Gaza in Scotland, so I'm not going to watch anything. So he's winning. So semi-final comes on. So Adam's texting me the results, and he puts 5-3. Next thing I get, it comes, yes, he's won, get in. So I'm like at the back, I'm going to the van like this, get in there, come on. I said, it's first to 7, you prick. If he loses, I lock the phone down, just wait for the result like that. Got it. And tell us about that experience. I think Glenn.
I enjoyed it.
Go on, carry on, James. Sorry.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it one of my better tournaments. You know, I was feeling really good up there. I mean, even when Michael went in front of me, I wasn't right bothered about him, and I nearly got him. And he started to waver a bit, and he had one good leg there. He did win it.
11 darter last leg.
Yeah, 11 darter, yeah.
Glenn, what's your memories of the Euro Tour? Because I know you've only played one season. I think you got to a quarter-final, lost to Gezi. Yeah, can't hear you, Glenn.
Glenn's out.
I think, yeah. I'm going to say bye to Glenn. Thank you very much, Glenn. Thank you. Cheers, Glenn. Stephen, tell us about your. That was your first Euro final, weren't it? That game against Jamie.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many European tours I've played in, and I think it's a great thing to be a part of. Obviously, the crowds are always brilliant as well at the Europeans. We play in some fantastic cities around Europe, and it's just so nice to obviously to get to a final now. I've had that experience. Obviously, it wasn't a great game, but I don't think I played particularly well throughout the whole tournament. I was happy to be in the final, but it was the same for everyone. The heat that week was just incredible. I think it was recorded in Prague for going back years and years. So, but like I said, just to be in the final, you've got all the fans cheering your name, and obviously you go toe to toe with Yoz is a good friend of mine as well. And we was having a laugh in the back before we went on and stuff. And obviously, as soon as he beat me, I was the first person to congratulate him, and I made up for him. Obviously, some of the games that he's played on the tour over the last year or two, the averages he puts in, he's phenomenal. When he's on it, he really is one of the best players in the world. And I think I had a conversation with you when he was on about signing him a few years ago, and I said, listen, you've got to get him on your books. He's a fantastic player, and he's a top lad as well. And yeah, he totally deserved that win.
I think he's an arsehole, to be fair. So does James.
I definitely do now.
What about the Grand Slam, James? The Grand Slam 4-1 up.
Yeah, 4-1 up. spread the crowd against me, didn't I?
Yeah, Wolverhampton. Yeah.
You. That's all I heard.
I remember that.
And he just had his baby as well, like 2 days before. She's an absolute nutter. That little kid is. I've never seen a baby. Every time I ring him, it's like, you know that the face hugger off Aliens that crawls over your head like that. That's like her. She's everywhere. She pops up here. She pops up there. She's on his head. Mick Lang says it was 55 C on stage.
It was ridiculous.
And I think Jamie just dealt with the heat a lot better.
Yeah, obviously Blackpool is really hot. Must be 35, 40 degrees on Blackpool stage when all the lights are belting and you've got a full crowd. But for being in Prague, and it was just you couldn't escape. Even the hotel, it was roasting. The venue, you go outside and you just the sun was there. There was nothing you could do, so you just had to get in and bear it. And it's one of the most difficult games I've ever played throughout the whole tournament, just for the heat.
Where's the David Evans from Manchester said, "Hope you're all keeping safe, guys. When do you think the tour will start again?" James?
I think I'm hoping it's going to be end of July, beginning of August. You just never know what's going on with people at the minute. You say keep a safe distance, and there's like beaches full, so you don't know if there's going to be a second wave or not. I mean, I hope there isn't. I hope it's dealt with, pretty soon, and they get a vaccine, and we can all get back to what we love doing. That's playing darts, and living a normal life.
Stephen, sorry.
Yeah, no, same sort of thing. Obviously, I'd love to be back on tour sooner rather than later. Obviously, I've missed the guys as well, which I don't know if being at home now with the family, I want to get back and start earning some money again. But it's a difficult one. Obviously, if the government lifted this lockdown too early, it remains to be seen. People are talking about obviously the R rate going up again and stuff like that. So I think the PDC have got to be sensible. They can't rush into this decision because if it's the wrong decision and we do get a second wave, it's going to put us back even further than what we are now. So I know there's been a few rumours about the match play going ahead, but like I say, we're just going to have to wait and see. And obviously, we've not got that headache. We just get the green light when we're ready to play. So they're all working. Obviously, I spoke to Barry on Twitter a few days ago, and I just obviously tried to get a bit of an update. But he said he could assure me that they were all working really hard behind the scenes, and obviously, when they know something, then it'll all be released.
Yeah, it's just a shame. A lot of people are saying we're going to have a two weeks of pro tours in June or July for the to qualify for the match play. Obviously, there's not been many qualifiers for the match play, but we're all guessing. Everybody's asking me the same questions that everybody's asking you, and none of us really know.
And the thing is, I mean, I was watching Sky News this morning, and they were on about obviously people have got passes, like the people who are on the Eurotunnel, they've got passes for this. They don't need that 2 week what's it called?
Quarantine.
Yeah,
quarantine. Yeah.
Quarantine. Now they were on about Formula One because obviously their drivers are travelling and stuff, and they'll be racing over here. And they said, will that be an exemption for them? Obviously, a sport sort of exemption for a quarantine. And the guy said, yeah, we are looking into that. So maybe sports people will get that exemption where they can come over. They don't have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And then maybe, we can have some Pro Tour action. And maybe then obviously, it's a bit fairer playing the match play when there's some tournaments played. I'll feel a bit hard done by because I'm 17 in the world at the minute. So I'd like to have a chance to try and push myself back into the tournament. But if it goes ahead and that's the situation, then that's the way it is, isn't it? It's the PDC who decide, and we just hope to compete.
Johnny's just put a tweet out saying, Soudale 6, Bunting 4. Remember that, Steve?
I don't actually remember that game.
I do.
You've not got a clip of that as well, have you?
No.
It shocked me. There's a clip.
But I'm sure you can find that he beat me as well. So.
Who else?
Bob Anderson.
Bob Anderson.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. What games you've played a load. You've played my guys loads of times. I mean, what you've done some damage to my wallet in the past 5 or 6 years.
I'm playing your guys. I don't think you're wallet.
Exactly.
Benito, what's your record like against Benito?
I've got a very good record against Benito. I think he's beat me. He has beat me once or twice. I think he beat me in a Players' Championship. And I beat him. I think it was just after he lost his grandma, which was obviously a but it's been nice to see him return to a bit of form as well. He's
he's doing well.
Fantastic player. Yeah, and obviously back in our BDO days as well. This is what I mean about darts. We're all friends. There's a lot of friends. I sound like Silver Black then. A lot of friends. But, yeah, I think people ask you who's the horriblest dart player or who do you not like. There's no one I can think of off the top of my head that I would say, because once we're in that room on that tour, we are like brothers. We all talk to each other. We all play with each other. We all practice. And
there's Brian Wood, Steve.
Yeah, probably.
Brian Wood.
Yeah, he's the one.
I can think of a few more.
You would be able to.
Yeah. James,
rock on Steve.
I remember Rob Cross. Rob Cross has cost me. Yeah, Rob Cross has caused me some nightmares. James, why have you changed your nickname from Jammy Dodger to Lethal Biscuit, then decided to come back to Jammy Dodger? Any reason why?
Legal things. Legal reasons.
Yeah, Jammy Dodger. Yeah, I like the Jammy Dodger. Stephen, what was your nickname? Was the Bullet all the way through, weren't it? What was the early days of the BDO?
It's always been the Bullet. Obviously, when my theme music changed a bit, I did have Bird is the Word back in my Lakeside days before I even switched over, and that was partially because Colin Murray, he was presenting the show at the time, and he said, "You look a bit like Peter Griffin. You should do this." And he went home and come back with the disc, and he said, "Listen to this," and it just went from there. Really, I used it for that season, and then I ditched it.
Oh, well, didn't it?
Yeah, I come back to it a few years later, and then obviously I've ditched it again.
You remember the dude, won't you, Steve?
What was that?
You remember the dude, won't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember the dude? Were you called the dude as well?
No. Who was dude? Matt.
Daryl. Oh. No, listen. It's one of them with Daryl, isn't it? I told everybody that listened for years, and he was rubbish for 2 years, and everybody was saying, "What's he going on about?" Bloody household, don't know what he's talking about. But I think once you get that big break and you get a run, it proves it that now he's a different person than he was 4 or 5 years ago. He's an arsehole on the board, isn't he? And that's people probably don't like him because he's a bit of an idiot, and he hates losing. He's a bad loser, but off the board, he's sound, isn't it? Everybody loves. I don't think many people socially, not many people don't like him, but on the board, he's like, I can understand because he's got a face like a slapped ass, but it's just concentrating, isn't it? You know,
it's his job, isn't it? It's his job at the end of the day. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to wrap up now. This last thing here. Say something really sad, and James would still laugh at it. There you go. You're the one that laughs at the Titanic, James. You'd be laughing at the Titanic, James would. Yeah. I've always said if James was like that copper that had to knock on your door and like tell you bad news and just go, "All right, yeah, I'm afraid it's bad news." But last one from Harry Ward. Matt, tell Steve I said Joe Aki. What's it mean, this Goaki?
It's one of the lads who we play Call of Duty with. It's his mother's name, so that's just a bit of banter between the lads. But Harry's really good at Call of Duty as well, especially with a sniper. And obviously, I'm playing with Lewis and Drew, so we have a bit of a laugh. And Tony Richardson as well. But there's a few of us now who are playing PlayStation Call of Duty just to get through our days, really. But we seem to.
Harry's got potential. Obviously, won his first one. He's a good player. I think he's just having that sort of second season expectancy now. People look at him as like, oh, he's won one, as opposed to he's the upstart. You know what I mean? And it's a different kind of pressure. But listen, we've done an hour and a half, guys. And it's been, he will do. Yeah, he's a good lad. He's one of the best. Anyhow, but listen, I want to thank first. I want to thank Dean, and I want to thank Bob Anderson. I want to thank Glenn and Macca of the Sports Management Company Limited for letting Glenn come on, and John of Nevada as well for letting Steve come on. And thanks, Steve, and thanks, James. It's been good. It's been something to do, isn't it? It's been great. It's been nice to see somebody.
Time for bed now.
Yeah, that's it. Another day gone. Another day gone. So need some ideas. So if you want to get some ideas, who you want on next week, we'll try and get some more top guys on. And thanks a lot, guys. And I'll text you later. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we shall see you all soon.
See you later, guys.
See you later.